All right, welcome to this training. My name is Munir Lazuni, and if you're on this video right now, then chances are you either clicked on one of my Facebook or Instagram ads, or you're a part of my free Facebook group, Secrets of the Driven Man, Fat Loss, Muscle Gain, Motivation for the Busy Entrepreneur. And that's exactly what we're going to be covering today is how to actually lose fat in the most time efficient way and the most sustainable and enjoyable way possible for a busy entrepreneur who doesn't have a whole lot of time but who wants to actually get in great shape and stay in great shape to then scale your energy levels, your focus, your productivity, everything else positive as far as your quality of life, as well as your performance at work that comes with being able to optimize your body. So I've prepared this really amazing presentation for you guys today. Really excited. It's actually not going to be that long, but it's going to be packed with information and value and a lot of other special bonuses. So very, very excited to show you guys this. Let me get my screen share on and we're going to dive right in. And the first thing I want to present to you guys is the idea of the busy entrepreneur's dilemma. You see, there's a dilemma when you don't have a whole lot of time. There's a dilemma, which is, do I just settle for not being in shape for the rest of my life? Or do I do something about it? And do I have that faith in myself that maybe I can figure it out? Okay. Well, don't worry. You don't have to figure anything out because I've figured it all out for you. I'm going to share that with you today, just like I've shared it with all the gentlemen you see in these before afters, as well as some of the other ones I'm going to share with you guys today, as well as a lot of the video testimonials that you see in this free group, if you're in the free Facebook group, or that you might see below this in the page if you clicked here from a Facebook ad, plenty on my YouTube and Facebook as well, that you can check out if you want to see what other people are saying about the program and even message my clients and ask them personally, which I'll be happy to connect you with them as well. But before we do all that, let me actually share the concepts with you on how we achieve these results and show you exactly how busy entrepreneurs are losing fat in their sleep naturally and how you can too if you're a busy entrepreneur. And so you can finally lose the gut for life and stay lean for life. And then there's my own personal one. There's me in 2018 when I got kind of fat. And I'll go a little bit into that story without going too much into depth with that. But what I will be going into full depth with today is exactly how to boost your metabolism using delicious foods, because it needs to taste good for it to be sustainable, in a way that only takes you 10 minutes every other day to prepare. That way we can reduce meal prep down to 30 minutes tops per week, or you could even delegate and outsource that to a meal prep company. There's a couple of recommendations I could give you. I prefer to just do it myself though, as far as the cooking goes, because I want to control exactly what ingredients I'm putting in my body. And you'll see why in a second. Now, this type of meal plan is also going to boost, or rather this set of principles I'm going to share with you guys today is going to boost your testosterone levels, your energy, your drive, your focus, and of course, your long-term health and your quality of life. Now, as far as training goes, I'm going to share with you exactly how you can lose up to 40 to 50 pounds of fat in 12 weeks based on some of my client results. Again, typically we're looking at more like 20 to 25 pounds of fat loss in 12 weeks. But again, we've seen all kinds of crazy results across the board, which I'm going to share with you guys later today as well. After I go through the concepts, you can see the concepts in motion. And then at the same time, we also gain muscle. I'll explain why in a sec. And then we're only training 3 to 4 days a week for 30 to 45 minutes. Again, the entire goal, since this whole thing is about the busy entrepreneur's dilemma, is how do we actually fit training and nutrition in less than 2 to 3 hours total per week so we can actually sustain it long-term with the business or with your career. And then lastly, we're going to talk about accountability and motivation tailored to fit your lifestyle and your work schedule, and how to actually build sustainable and enjoyable habits that will allow you to actually boost your quality of life, your performance at work, as well as just your energy levels in general and the way that you show up with your family, your loved ones, potentially your social life as well, versus feeling like training and nutrition are taking away from your work, taking away from your income, taken away from your family, your social life. No, this is going to only enhance all of the above when you do things the way I'm going to show you, because of the way that it improves your mental state. So, and then also I'm going to go into some in-depth case studies. So again, if you're watching this, you're a man. This is designed for men. Maybe I'll make a woman's version of this training, but the men's one is what I'm passionate about right now, and this is what I'm going to be sharing. And then if you work 40 to 60 plus hours per week, this was specifically designed for you, especially if you find it hard to get and stay in shape because you're busy. If you used to work out, but you stopped when you started a business or when you entered a higher paying role inside of your career, aka me in 2018. And also if you've noticed that your progress comes slower than it did when you were younger, because this is a sign of a metabolism that is slowing down. Okay. And we're going to talk about how to speed that up today, because that's the primary mechanism by which we're able to lose fat very efficiently while gaining muscle as a busy entrepreneur who doesn't have a whole lot of time. And then obviously, if you struggle with consistency when you get busy, we're going to help you with that today. And then obviously, if you want to get the results that we are ultimately teaching you how to get here, which is getting in shape, maximizing your energy, your focus, your performance, so you can crush it on a daily basis, essentially like you did at whatever point in your life you felt like you were in your prime. For a lot of guys, that might have been their early 20s, possibly even their teens, where they had the most focus, energy, drive, winner effect, so to speak, which we're going to talk about as well inside of their life. And then lastly, if you need a sustainable system that doesn't take time and energy away from your career and life, that's what we're going to cover today. So real quick, working out as a kid definitely helped me build the discipline, the character, everything I needed to ultimately start doing well in my career in business as soon as I entered the workforce. But in 2017, there was a point where I got promoted to manager. The first gym I was working at, I was working 63 plus hours a week. And even though I was working in the gym, in the fitness industry, I still let myself go. And over 12 months, I gained 20 pounds of fat, got out of shape. So there was me as a kid. And then, what I was able to get to in 2019, there was me, overweight, kind of fat with a little bit of a belly, not wanting to have my shirt off. And then obviously just another picture from that same day in 2019 where I took these photos. You guys seen plenty of photos of me in 2019, 2020. I've been able to actually fix this. But during the point where I was maybe in a similar position to where you are today, my performance was suffering at work because I was burning out. I needed 3 caffeine pills to get up in the morning out of bed. Like I'd literally lay in bed, my alarm would go, I'd hit snooze a couple times, then I'd barely have the energy to grab my 3 caffeine pills, take them, and then whenever it kicked in, which is usually 10, 15 minutes, then I'd have the energy to get up. And then I need another booster dose of caffeine later in the day. A lot of the time, I try to just do it in the morning, but sometimes I needed that booster dose. So again, that was where I was. I was really burnt out, and I knew it was because my body wasn't optimized. Like this does not look optimized here. Okay. And so I needed a time efficient way to get back in shape, especially after multiple failed attempts. Cause I was able to get back in shape when I hired a coach, but this coach had me training 5 days a week and like meal prepping super strict to where I couldn't sustain that for longer than a couple of weeks. So multiple failed attempts to get back in shape where I would get in shape and then lose it up and down, losing more and more motivation, metabolism getting slower and slower with age and with failed attempts. Restrictive dieting does slow down your metabolism. And so I was in a really tough place. So in 2018, I started experimenting with this. I'm going to go into the actual story and the practical applications. And I've helped hundreds of men actually transform. I've also done a number of different case studies where we actually deep dive with my clients who are comfortable sharing their results, putting their face behind it. Because obviously some of my guys work in high level, high pressure careers, but they don't necessarily want shirtless pictures themselves on the internet, which I totally get. But for most of my guys, I at least try to get the testimonial, and some of the guys are definitely open-minded to that, which has allowed me to share some of these results with you guys. But anyways, what I'm going to help you with today is obviously tailoring this to yourself, the principles, and ultimately how you can customize this for you to allow you to get in amazing shape and boost your mental state for increased performance and productivity. Okay. But again, it starts with the same question that you may be asking yourself right now, which is how do I stay consistent with my fitness goals if I'm too busy to work out 5 days a week and I only have maybe at best 2 to 3 hours per week for both meal prep and for training. Okay. So my first client who I was actually able to help with this was back in 2018 when I was struggling with this myself. His name is Jason. He lost 27 pounds in 90 days. He works 40, 60 plus hours a week. He's an entrepreneur. He has a wife and 2 kids, but he still crushed it, 44 years old. So if you're in your 40s, you don't have an excuse anymore because Jason absolutely crushed it. And because I was a former athlete, not too long before I got out of shape, like just a year before, I was in great bodybuilding shape. I didn't think that the strength supersets protocol would work for me because I thought you had to train 5 days a week. But it wasn't until 2019 when a mentor of mine put me onto something called the modern man training style, which has its pluses. It also has its drawbacks. We're going to talk about that as well. But one thing I picked up was something very similar to what I'd used with Jason in 2018, which are strength supersets, which we're going to talk about. And I have more in-depth training on this. I could tag you in if you'd like. Just comment below if you want me to tag you in that, and I will after this. But when I started doing this with my mentor, I realized I could get in shape, and this would work for any guy who used to lift, no matter if you were in great shape before or not. And I knew that using this protocol, I could actually guarantee I was consistent. I almost said guarantee I was sustainable, but guarantee I was consistent, which would then allow me to gain muscle and lose fat at the same time. And the principle behind this too is like, if you're a beginner or if you used to lift, but you haven't lifted in like 6 months or longer, for most people, most busy entrepreneurs and professionals, you probably have not been consistent for at least the last 6 months, which means that your body is deconditioned, which, the bad news is you're not going to be in great shape. But the good news is you can see results very quickly because your body is going to respond very quickly once you actually start training and eating properly. And that's the thing is really there's just 3 things that you need. Training isn't the only thing. Obviously, nutrition is important. But of course, we need to have nutrition time efficient. I'm going to put on my glasses here. We need to have training as a time efficient protocol so it doesn't take over too much time from our life. We also need nutrition on point, but we also need to make sure we actually schedule it in. Okay. Now I know that doesn't sound sexy. If you're already like scheduling everything in, maybe that's like normal for you and that's fine. But there's a lot of entrepreneurs who basically run their business by the seat of their pants, right? Which means you're not actually scheduling shit in, which means no wonder that you haven't been able to stick to it. But then there's also the accountability, of actually sticking to that, right? So maybe you already are scheduling, but you're not being accountable to it. You allow other blocks of your time to bleed into the training block, or you allow yourself to skip the training block. And obviously, you're not going to get results that way either. And maybe you struggle with motivation because you're putting all your motivation into your business, into your career. But we're going to have to find a way to get motivation. We're going to talk about that today as well. Okay. But again, you need to schedule shit in. You need to build a rhythm for you, which, it's custom. Like for all my clients, I customize the rhythm to their lifestyle. We figure out time optimization, where the actual time constraints are and where the pockets of time are, so we can schedule training and nutrition in there, and obviously not the time constraints. And then obviously I'm going to show you today as well how to meal prep efficiently to ensure that, number one, it tastes good and it actually works. And number two, it boosts your hormones and your metabolism, which is part of how it works. That way you can actually get really, really good results. And of course, you keep it up long term. But again, if right now you find yourself in a place where you're like, oh, I have to schedule things, I have to do something differently to get a different result. Obviously, maybe that's not most of you, but there's some people here who are like, oh, I just want to do nothing and get results. But obviously, you have to do something. We're going to make it as sustainable and enjoyable as possible. But like, if scheduling is something that you're not willing to do, this is going to be very difficult for you. It's really the only way we can guarantee results is if you actually do the work. Okay. So again, whenever we see points of resistance, right? One thing I always tell people, I'm just going to, obviously take a second to emphasize this, is in order for you to take action, the reason needs to be greater than the resistance. Okay. So if you're feeling resistance to taking action right now, it's time to actually go deeper into your reasons and potentially consider the potential ramifications if you stay where you are. If you continue allowing yourself to be out of shape, tired, lethargic, burnt out, and in a place where your body's not optimized, not only are you not going to live as long, so what's the point in making all that money if you don't actually even live long enough to enjoy it or have the time or energy to enjoy it? But number two, your performance is going to be limited, which means you're not going to reach your potential in business or your career either. Okay. And what you're going to see in some of my case studies is all of my clients, when they get in great shape, have been able to scale their career or business. Okay. Performance and the body go hand in hand. Energy, your mental state, and your physical state go hand in hand. And the good news is some of the stuff I'm going to teach you nutrition wise today is actually going to help you change that right now, right away. But if right now you're feeling resistant to take action, really look at your reasons, consider the potential ramifications if you stay where you are, and use that to light a fire under your ass to actually push you forward. That's what I do whenever I don't feel motivated, and it definitely helps. We'll talk about that specific to you as well. But anyways, so let's go into the problems that most busy men face with nutrition. Okay. So now we've got things scheduled in, we need to schedule things in and make them efficient. So one big reason why a lot of men struggle to stick to their nutrition when they get busy is because meal prepping takes too long, or the meal schedule that maybe a trainer gave them or a blog or something they read online gave them doesn't actually work with their work schedule. Maybe you're on calls 8 hours a day and you can't eat for 8 hours a day. So we actually have to optimize that to you. Okay. Everything needs to be individual and customized. Maybe the diet tastes like shit. The foods are boring and bland, and you have to completely restrict your favorite foods, which also makes it hard to sustain this, right? Again, if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to keep it up. This needs to enhance your quality of life instead of taking away from it. You probably also don't have time to cook for 2 hours a day. Not that you would have to cook for 2 hours a day if you want to be in good shape, but again, you don't have a lot of time to cook, so it needs to be efficient. And then obviously the diet needs to work, so there needs to be results. And if you've done diets before, potentially keto, fasting, calorie restriction, different calorie deficits that a lot of people will give you, which in theory work. If it kills your energy levels, that's a no-go, because you can't have something negatively affect your performance at work. So, and then finally, if you feel bloated from the foods that you eat, that also makes it hard to stick to. It also results in brain fog, which we're going to talk about as well. So here are the solutions. The first thing we need to do is we need to tailor the meal prep to your actual schedule, and obviously the meal frequency as well, to make sure it's sustainable. And for some people, intermittent fasting is ideal. For most people, it isn't, because it can slow your metabolism down. But again, this is something we need to diagnose individually. There are some periods in business where I actually have to use intermittent fasting, aka today. I had a lot of work to do today, including this. So I actually have fasted this morning, even though it's not my usual protocol, simply because it works with my lifestyle better, but I'm still getting my nutrients in, which is more important, which is what we're going to talk about later today. Versus usually I don't fast because my metabolism is faster when I don't fast. Now, I also have a meal prep guide, like a recipe book and all that stuff. So if you want that, just comment down below, let me know, and I'll send it to you after this. Yeah, it allows you to, again, this meal prep guide I've created was created out of necessity for myself, so I'd actually have the time to do so. And it allows me to meal prep, and it just takes 10 minutes every other day, which means we're only talking 30, 40 minutes a week. Okay, not even an hour. Now, obviously the texture of the food, the taste needs to be on point. Otherwise, we're not going to want to eat it. So that's part of what this meal prep guide does, as far as like using the slow cooker and the recipes I have for you in there. And then we also need dietary flexibility to be able to enjoy our favorite foods, which again ties in with metabolism as well. So again, if you want the recipe book, comment down below right now, and I will give you free access. Just comment down below with the word recipe book, or with food or something, or just say, send me the recipe book, please, and I'll send it to you. And then and then when it comes to dietary flexibility, once your metabolism is on point, if you eat right 80% of the time, you can afford to eat wrong, so to speak, 20% of the time. For some people, we do need to tighten this up, especially initially. But once we've built your metabolism, you'll have a lot more flexibility, which makes it very sustainable long term. So you can do this for the rest of your life, which means you'll keep your results for the rest of your life. Now, the other thing we need to do is we need to maximize your natural metabolism, and we also need to talk about the right nutrients for you. And really, the only one we need to worry about in the beginning is protein. We're going to cover this in the next slide, and we'll also talk about how to maximize your metabolism in the training section as well. And then, of course, we also need to optimize our hormones and our gut health for peak energy levels and easy, comfortable digestion. Because obviously, if your digestion is shit and your gut health is shit, it's going to result in brain fog. Your gut is actually linked to your brain. So if you constantly have gut inflammation and bloating, then that's actually negatively contributing to your mental health and your ability to stay energetic and focused and mentally clear headed, which is why a lot of guys get foggy headed and they get a lot of lethargy, and why a lot of guys struggle to wake up in the morning, which means they underproduce at work. They just feel like shit in general. They can't enjoy their life no matter how far they've pushed their career, no matter how much prestige, fame, money that they have. They're not actually really living life because their life is shit because their body is not optimized. Okay, so we're going to talk about optimizing your body today. So really, there's a couple simple rules, because I know it sounds like a lot, but really, we're just going to keep it super simple. So the first thing I have my clients work up to in their first 4 weeks, I don't expect you to hit this right off the bat. It takes time, but hitting 1 gram per pound in body weight and protein per day. Obviously, if you weigh over 200 pounds, we're just going to cap that at 200. Unless you're like over 6'4" to 6'6". Again, everything we do is custom, so I would customize that to you. But usually, you're not going to have to go above 200 grams of protein. But some people do. Just probably not you if you're watching this. The average person doesn't, even if you weigh over 200 pounds. But again, usually 1 gram per pound of body weight and protein per day is the good rule of thumb to start with. We adjust from there based on your results. Now, one thing to account for here too is when you eat protein, it actually increases your metabolism significantly, because number one, you're gaining muscle, which increases your metabolism, which we're going to talk about in the next one. Number two, there's a thermic effect created by protein, which actually helps you digest more. And number three, it's also going to help you to stay full and satiated for longer, which is going to increase a hormone called leptin that actually helps with fat burning as well. Okay. So this is really, really important that you get in enough protein. And again, we work up to that. If that sounds like a lot right now, and you're like, holy shit, there's no way I could eat 170, 180, 190, 200 grams of protein a day. That's fine, because when you train, it's actually going to help increase the amount of protein that your body wants to consume. So your appetite for protein is going to go up. Your appetite for like junk food and all that other stuff is going to go down, which will allow you to make better food choices naturally as well. So the next point is we need to actually consume foods that we digest well. So in the beginning, this takes a little bit of discipline, because there's some foods you're going to need to cut out, and I'll explain why in a sec. But when you notice how much better you feel, how much more energy you have, how much quicker the fat comes off, and how much more focused and clear-headed you are, and how much more you produce at work or in your business, well, ultimately, you're not even going to want to eat foods that are unoptimized that cause inflammation, because once you feel like what it feels like to be optimized, you'll never want to be unoptimized again. Now, we need to tailor this to your genetics and your goals. Some foods that are inflammatory for some people work really well for others. It kind of blew my mind because, for myself, white rice digests better than pasta because gluten is a little bit inflammatory for me. Yet I've had clients who are Italian, Lebanese, and those are the only two ethnicities I've noticed so far actually process pasta and bread better than they process white rice. Kind of blew my mind. So again, this is just different things I've picked up over the years that are really, really important. So if you're Italian or if you're Lebanese, there's a high chance you actually digest wheat better than like rice or potentially potatoes and stuff like that. Okay, but again, we got to tailor this to your genetics and your goals. The easy way to figure this out is, if something we notice that it causes inflammation, we cut it out for a week, see if it makes a difference, add it back in for a week, see if it makes a difference. And then obviously if it's the cause for the inflammation, we cut it out so that you don't feel brain fog and slow metabolism and tired and sluggish anymore. Okay. Now, one thing that is universal though, is that pesticides and processed foods don't digest well for most people. Okay. So here's the beautiful thing is if we cut out foods that have pesticides, so like non-organic meats, processed foods, anything that like didn't occur in nature, then we're immediately going to speed up our metabolism, lose a little bit of weight, water weight, bloat, fat, and we're also going to have way more energy and way more mental clarity and focus right off the bat. Our skin gets clearer, our gut health gets better. We don't have gas anymore. If you have gas right now, and everything just gets better, which will motivate you to stick to it. Okay. So I know that they're more expensive, and maybe some of you are already investing in organic meats and organic foods, but don't be eating pesticides. Okay. Invest in organic foods. Trust me, you either pay the farmer today or pay the pharmacist tomorrow. I'd rather pay the farmer today so I can live a higher quality of life and be in better shape and not have to pay the pharmacist tomorrow. Okay. Plus organic food just tastes better anyways. All right. So I do have a list of testosterone boosting foods. It's nothing crazy. It's just kind of some food choices that I give my clients. I mean, anything that has healthy, organic, grass-fed, meat will have fats that actually increase your testosterone levels, such as stearic acid is one of the different fatty acids found in the fat of like grass-fed beef. So that helps boost your testosterone. There's other things like oysters as well. If you want the list, just comment down below and I'll pull up that list for you. Okay. Now, the last thing I want to explain before I move on, I got a little note to myself here, is the reason why we need to cut down on inflammation is not just because the bloatedness makes you feel like foggy headed and tired and shitty and look fat, because obviously it pushes your belly out when you have the bloat, like when your body isn't digesting things well. But the problem is when we get inflammation by eating foods that cause us to bloat and cause that gut inflammation, there's this hormone called cortisol that goes up. Now, maybe you've heard of cortisol, especially if you're a business owner, or a high performer, because when you're in periods of chronic stress, your cortisol levels are going to go up significantly. Now, when your cortisol levels go up, the big thing that's relevant to you here is that your testosterone levels are going to go down. Okay, so cortisol is actually going to lower your testosterone levels and it's going to lower your thyroid hormone levels. Now, thyroid hormone is directly responsible for your metabolism. Okay, all these things factor into your metabolism, but thyroid hormone actually legitimately controls your metabolism. If you have low thyroid hormone, you're guaranteed to have slow metabolism. If you have high thyroid hormone, you're guaranteed to have a really fast metabolism. Okay, that's why a lot of people, especially like actually if you know women who have been dieting on and off for like decades, they end up screwing up their metabolism. A lot of these women have to get on like thyroid medication. It doesn't happen as commonly with men, but it does happen. You might know men who are on thyroid medication. Maybe you are yourself. And if that's the case, well, we definitely need to fix up your metabolism and lower that cortisol, because the cortisol is a big contributing factor, as well as genetics. Like, everybody has a different genetic set point where they start with their metabolism, but you can always speed up your metabolism, make it faster than what it is today. Okay, without having to take medication or any bullshit. We do everything naturally here. By lowering your cortisol and inflammation, your thyroid hormone will go up as well as your testosterone, which make a big difference. Now, another downside to cortisol, especially when it comes to gut inflammation, is that's going to increase our estrogen levels, which makes us more prone to gaining fat under the nipples and like in the chest. And it also is going to cause us to be moody, tired, feel like shit, not feel very driven, etc. Right? And then the last thing I want to say about cortisol is if you've noticed that since starting a business or entering a high pressure career where you have big KPIs and other things you need to hit where there's a lot of stress, that most of the fat you gain is in your belly, it's because of cortisol as well. Cortisol causes you to hold and store more fat in your belly. It also makes the belly the last place to go. But if we can lower your cortisol physiologically and psychologically, well, we can actually lose the belly fat much faster, which is why all my clients lose the gut within 90 days. Okay. And then, yeah, okay, I think I covered all that. Yes, all that. Perfect. So that's nutrition. Now, since we do have the live stream, I'm just going to pop into the live stream and see if there are any questions. If you're watching this on replay or if you are watching this on my Facebook page, just let me know. We definitely got some comments. Raymond, appreciate that. Looking forward to our call later today as well. And we got Oliver. Thank you. I appreciate the value, #value. James, good to see you guys. Okay, awesome. And Raymond, I appreciate you being on here. Cool. So let's dive back into it. We're going to talk about training problems experienced by different men who work a lot of hours. Okay. If you're a busy man, there's a couple common training problems, roadblocks, obstacles that a lot of busy men face that we're going to talk about right now to help you understand how we can ultimately solve that for you. So first things first, the big problems or struggles or challenges, however you want to frame it, that busy men experience are, number one, they can't stick to the training protocol because most routines take too much time and you don't have a lot of time. Okay. So like if you have a routine that says you need to go to the gym 5-6 days a week, train for 1 to 2 hours, maybe 3, you're like, okay, I already know that's not going to happen because I don't have that kind of time in my life. Okay. And look, there's different ways we can customize this. Like I have a guy who's very busy. He runs 3 companies, a jewelry company, a real estate company, a number of other companies as well. Well, actually, he's got like this interesting conglomerate thing going on. So again, he's very busy is the moral of the story here. And essentially, like he actually had to get a gym installed in his home. So like he installed an entire home gym just to make things more time efficient for himself. Or another one of my clients, Owen Cook, some of you guys may know him, he's a YouTube celebrity. He runs, an 8-figure business. So he doesn't have time to, go commute to the gym, spend 3 hours during that block. So he got a gym installed in his home, which makes things more efficient for him. So a lot of my clients do that, especially with Corona being a thing now. If you don't have access to home equipment yet, we could also put together something bodyweight wise for you. But again, biggest thing that we need to do is put ourselves in a place where we can train in an efficient manner. Okay. And if your current exercise routine, commuting to the gym, working out, et cetera, or even just the working out itself takes too much time, you're not going to stick to it. Another big one, which we addressed a little bit earlier in the presentation, is if you struggle with motivation and energy, we already talked a little bit about why you might be struggling with energy right now, but motivation is also a factor because guess what? Any extra motivation and drive that you have, I already know you're channeling that into your business, into your career, because that is your obsession. That's why you've chosen this life. And I think that's a beautiful thing. More men need to be more driven in their careers and businesses. But at the same time, the drawback to that is a lot of your motivation isn't actually going to be able to be channeled into your body anymore, which is why we usually deprioritize that, especially if you have a wife, kids, family. They also come first because obviously you got to take care of them. But so many men put themselves last. But what I'm here to show you is how to put yourself first in a more time efficient way that then complements and helps you in other areas of your life as well, instead of taking away from it, which again is the big reason why a lot of businessmen and entrepreneurs struggle to stick to this. Okay. And then obviously there's the accountability to get done because, as much as I'd love to say that if you do my program, you'll feel motivated every single day. No, you're still going to have days that are very hard. You're going to have a lot of days that are hard, man. You're an entrepreneur. You have a very busy lifestyle. So the big thing here is you actually need accountability to get it done. So again, big thing with me is I hold all my clients very accountable, make sure the things get done. If you miss a workout, you're going to hear from me about it. We're going to handle it in a gentle way. I know when to apply pressure and when to obviously take the pressure off in a way that works really well for you. I'm an empath, so it's kind of my superpower right there. Anyways, taking it back to you though, if the results are coming slow and you're putting a lot of time and energy in, but it's not really actually working for you, and you feel like it's taking time and energy away from your career and business, obviously training is going to feel like a waste of time. So that's another reason why a lot of busy men struggle to stick with their training. And then obviously if you have any injuries, that's something we need to work around and rehab over time to allow you to work through it. And then also if you hit a plateau, that's also a big obstacle why a lot of men stop training after a couple of weeks when they get busy. And then if you used to be in good shape when you were younger, or you used to work out when you were younger in your youth, but it no longer works today. Part of that's metabolism. Part of that is we also need to be careful with injuries as you get older, as well as being able to correct your posture, especially if you work in front of the computer. Like if you're an internet entrepreneur, such as myself, or you do spend a lot of time in front of the computer regardless, well, that's definitely something that we need to account for. We need to actually fix your posture so we prevent injuries from happening later down the road, because injuries are a massive setback. Okay. So again, here's how we fix it. First thing we need to do is we actually need to tailor a time efficient solution, a time efficient training routine to your schedule. So for a lot of my guys, we just start off with 3 workouts that are each 30 minutes, sometimes 45 minutes per week, just to get us some momentum and help us improve our energy levels so we can be more productive. And as we increase our capacity and become more productive, we can get our work done faster, which then clears up more time to potentially work out more if we need to. But honestly, once you've hit your initial goal, you can easily maintain on 3 workouts per week, 30 to 45 minutes. But again, we got to tailor this and customize it to you, your needs, your schedule. But again, the principle though is we look at where the time constraints are and where the pockets of time are. And we obviously install training and nutrition into the pockets of time and avoid the time constraints. And we can do this on a weekly basis, even daily basis as needed, depending on your schedule and your variability. Like with my client, Owen Cook, it's literally on an hourly basis that we adjust things. And then strength supersets, very important. This is the way that we condense workouts down very efficiently and get a nice metabolic boost. Now, this training is already like 28 minutes. I don't want to make this too long. As you guys know, I could talk all day about everything because this is, what lights me up. So I do have a separate training on strength supersets. If you're interested in me posting that training on strength supersets, in me tagging you in that training, just comment down below and let me know, and I'll tag you in that training inside of this group on strength supersets. Obviously, if you're watching this and you came in through a Facebook ad, I may attach that training below, or you could just email me, or I'll put a contact button below so you can get in contact with me if you want that. But I'll send that over to you, the strength supersets training, or I'll tag you in it. Yeah, like I said. And then obviously, like for my clients, like not everybody's watching this is going to become my client, but if you are my client, obviously I take care of the motivation accountability aspect for you. But regardless of whether you're my client or not, the big thing that we do with training, because again, one of the big problems a lot of guys face, they don't get efficient results, is we maximize what's called mind-muscle connection. So a big reason why a lot of guys don't get results from training, especially if you're training at home, because maybe you got results when you're lifting weights, but now you have to train at home. A big reason why guys don't get results is they don't know how to actually activate the muscle properly and strongly enough to actually gain muscle, and gaining muscle is going to boost your metabolism, which we're going to talk about on the next slide. But, if you don't have proper mind muscle connection and control of the movements, well, what's going to end up happening is you're going to risk injury, and you're also going to get very subpar results because you're not actually contracting the muscle properly. I mean, there's a reason why some studies on muscle building say, oh, you can only gain a very small amount of muscle each year. It's because if you're not actually contracting the muscle properly, you're not going to gain any muscle at all. Okay. Like you're lucky to gain any muscle at all if you're not contracting properly. But if you contract properly, you'll gain a lot of muscle very quickly. And as we gain muscle, it takes calories away from our fat, which helps us lose fat very quickly. And it also boosts our metabolism such that we continue losing fat in the long run as well. Again, I've got some more in-depth trainings on this. In fact, I explain this pretty heavily in the ebook. I've got all kinds of comment down below on this, but if you want me to send your ebook and you have my ebook and you haven't gotten it already, it's called The Metabolic Method for Getting Shredded. Comment down below and I'll send you my ebook so you can learn more about this. If you're watching this and you've already scheduled a call with me, we'll just review the details specific to you on our call. But yeah, anyways, so before I go on another tangent with that, we need to maximize mind muscle connection and technique to ensure that we gain as much muscle as possible in as short a time as possible, which is going to boost our metabolism, which again, I'll cover that in the next slide. And we want to minimize injuries because obviously injuries are going to prevent you from being able to progress forward because now we got to slow down and work around them. Okay. And then finally, whenever you hit a plateau, we obviously need to be able to consult around that and fix it. But also we use a principle called progressive overload as far as strength training goes to ensure that those plateaus usually don't happen in the first place until like about 6 to 12 months into the game. And then lastly, as far as training goes, when we train with progressive intensity and with strength supersets, which means we're using shorter rest periods, we're not wasting time resting around between sets more than we need to, of course. Obviously, don't like make yourself throw up, but we work you up to the level of intensity you need to be at over time. But as we increase intensity and all that stuff, your testosterone metabolism intrinsically are going to increase from the training itself to pretty much the levels where they would have been in your youth, possibly better for a lot of guys. And we also want to create a long-term sustainable game plan that does work long-term with your schedule and with your lifestyle. And again, I think, did I cover it here? Well, anyways, I cover it at some point in the next few slides, but when we gain muscle, it boosts our metabolism. Typically what I've seen with my clients, and actually, no, I just remembered, I do cover this on a later slide, so we'll cover that in a sec. But basically when you gain muscle, it's going to boost your metabolism. I'm going to give you the exact numbers in a second. All right. So when it comes to maximizing your metabolism, here are the principles again, just to review them for you. Train with full control over each movement. If you guys have further questions, just comment down below. Let me know. I'd be happy to answer them. When you're training, make sure that you're controlling each movement. You're owning every single position. Okay. So like, for instance, if you're doing a bicep curl, I'm going to put the camera on me here. Like if you're doing a bicep curl, don't just curl. We're not really using the muscle. What I want you to do is from the very bottom position, squeeze the entire muscle all the way up, control all the way down. Okay. I know that feels tedious, but simply investing the time to do that for your first 4 weeks is going to pay off massively as far as your results, both short-term and long-term. And in addition to that, my investment in reviewing your technique pays off massively long-term in my ability to actually get results for my clients and then share those results in my marketing. Okay. So it's a win-win. We both invest a lot of time into technique reviews in the very beginning. I'm going to review every single one of your lifts pretty much for the entire time you work with me, but especially in the beginning, it's imperative that you send those in so we can make sure that you're actually getting mind muscle connection. Otherwise, you're not going to get results. But if we obviously master this, which we will, then you're going to get maximum results. Okay. But again, every pound of muscle that you add burns roughly an extra 30 to 50 calories per day. So if you gain 10 pounds of muscle, that's an extra 300 to 500 calories that you're burning daily passively. That's why I said lose fat in your sleep, because you will literally lose fat in your sleep from your metabolism if you gain the muscle. And then obviously if you were to do like a diet or, something where you're eating inflammatory foods, you can obviously slow that metabolism back down. So obviously you still need to be on point with your other stuff. But if you combine all this stuff, the training plus the nutrition, every pound of muscle you gain is going to burn an extra 30, 50 calories a day at least. Now, I'm going to actually share some examples from some of my clients because there are some studies that would imply that you burn less than 30 to 50 calories per day for every pound of muscle gain. And there's a couple reasons for those studies, but I'm going to use just some specific examples from my clients. I have a client named Kenny. He's gained 8 pounds of muscle in the last 6 weeks, in addition to getting leaner, and he's eating 1,000 more calories per day than what he was eating when he started the program. So just by gaining 8 pounds of muscle, he's actually burning at least 1,000 more calories per day. Okay. So that's even more than what you would imagine based on this. And that's the thing is it's, everybody's different. Everybody's got their own genetics. So it's impossible to give you a cookie cutter number. I can give you a range of what's typical for most people, 30 to 50. But all you need to understand on a principle level is that when you gain muscle and you eat the way that I'm teaching you how to eat here, and we obviously customize that to you and what foods are inflammatory for you and which ones aren't, your metabolism is going to go up significantly, which is going to cause you to lose all the fat that you need to lose. Okay. All right. I'm going on a lot of tangents here. So let me hurry up here and stop going on so many tangents because I want to make sure we make it through this and it isn't too long because I know you're all are very, very busy. So again, there is a caveat to this. Like, I have a client named Tyler, and Tyler, before working with me, was actually working out pretty consistently, which is rare for busy professionals like him. And so what ended up happening was he was doing a ton of cardio, eating very low calories, like under 2,000 calories a day, because he was trying to get leaner. And he had lost a lot of fat already. He could see his abs, but his abs were still not 100% visible, and he really wanted to get leaner. So he was like, dude, I'm trying everything. I'm not seeing progress. I said, dude, we need to speed up your metabolism, because right now you're plateaued because you're actually doing too much. Your cortisol levels are too high from how much cardio you're doing, how little you're eating. So we actually need to actually increase the amount of muscle that you have on your frame to then boost your metabolism. And we need to do that by increasing your calories. So increase his calories to 2,500, then 2,600, then 2,750. And then we're going as high as 2,850 to 3,000 some days. And guess what? He's actually losing fat while gaining muscle. Why? Because again, when we focus on gaining muscle, we're training properly and we're actually eating more. That actually allows us to increase our metabolism and lose fat. And then obviously, when we want to start even losing even more weight, we can reduce the calories further. Okay, I went way too deep into that. But again, just want to explain that caveat because, again, some people are like, well, what about the study that said that each pound of muscle only burns 6 to 10 calories a day? Well, obviously, if you're doing what Tyler was doing before he trained with me, he had gained all the muscle, but he was doing so much cardio and restricting his calories so much that his metabolism naturally slowed down. And the reason why, like fasting, I'm not a big fan of intermittent fasting for most guys. Why I'm not a big fan of fasting, tons of cardio, all that stuff, is it slows your metabolism down. You see, our ancestors evolved back in the day to endure long periods of starvation. So if your ancestors had to go 3 days without food or a week without food, but their metabolism stayed fast, they would die. They would literally starve to death. So your ancestors evolved to be able to slow their metabolism down during periods of starvation and store as many calories as possible during times of feast when you ate one big ass meal after a period of starvation, which is why in the modern day, if we try to diet by skipping meals and reducing our calories and doing all this cardio and stuff, that puts our body into survival mode. Metabolism slows down. As soon as we start eating normal again, which always happens, people always rebound out of diets. Well, obviously you're going to gain all that weight back and more. Like, when have you ever heard somebody say, I did a crazy diet and I didn't rebound, right? We need to do the little things that I explain inside of this that make the biggest difference and actually get you in great shape and allow you to keep it. And that involves increasing your metabolism, works better short-term and long-term. Okay. Yeah, that's, and ultimately we can hack that in a sense by following these nutritional protocols. And then obviously meal frequency does play a factor. So obviously if we can eat more often, that is going to be the fast way to boost your metabolism. However, if you're like on back-to-back calls for 8 hours a day, we may have to utilize a fasting protocol, which can actually work well for some people. But again, we don't want to do excessive fasting because that's going to cause the metabolism to slow. All right, millions of caveats I can go on. Again, everything needs to be individual and customized, which is why I never like making cookie cutter statements. But I do want to give you guys a principle so you can understand, so you can apply it to yourself, even if you don't end up becoming a client. Okay. All right. So let's see. Taking it back to the principles. So to maximize your metabolism, train with full control over each movement. Use strength supersets to make your actual routine more efficient. Obviously, we need to tailor like the different elements of the routine to focus on whatever areas you want to focus on your body. So obviously, if you want to build more shoulders, we're going to have more shoulders. If I notice that your arms aren't growing as fast as the rest of your body, we're going to focus on that. If you don't want big arms, though, obviously we won't do that. Again, everything's custom to you. And then we need to progressively increase the intensity to make sure the body continues to adapt, and also to boost our testosterone, our growth hormone, our thyroid hormone levels, and our metabolism. Okay. And then obviously we need to adjust as needed to keep the results coming and to obviously make it sustainable with your schedule. So I won't go into this too far. I already covered the whole like lose fat while you sleep by gaining muscle and boosting your metabolism. There are 6 phases of training. I think I've done other trainings where I go deeper into this. In fact, I'm pretty sure the strength supersets training goes deeper into that. So if you haven't already, but you want me to send that to you or tag you in it, just comment down below and I'll tag you in the strength supersets training. But again, the goal was to simplify things down. I hope I didn't make things more complex, but I'm going to simplify them down right now because I know I went on a lot of tangents there. Again, I get very passionate about this stuff. So be ready for that. But anyways, to make things simple again, our goal is to simplify that. The first thing we need to do is schedule things in, establish a rhythm we can stick to and enjoy, and then obviously stay accountable and motivated along that journey to make sure that we actually do it and stick to the plan. That's it. Step number 1. Step number 2, consume low inflammation foods. I already talked about how we discover what's low inflammation for you and what your starting point should be, but eat low inflammation foods, get enough protein, meal prep in an efficient way. Again, if you want my meal prep guide, just comment down below and I'll send it to you. And then we just tailor from there if needed. Okay. Super simple for nutrition. And then finally, for training, we obviously need to customize it. And then we need to use strength supersets and the right technique. And then obviously consistently review that technique to make sure it stays on point as we increase the intensity and the weight. And that's going to allow us to keep making progress efficiently, to lose fat, gain muscle, and prevent injuries. Okay. So again, when we simplify it down, it is very simple. And obviously I will customize this framework to you to make sure that it actually works. Okay. But do you see how this could potentially apply to you? Let me check in the chat real quick, see if we got any comments, any questions. And then I'm going to show you guys some quick case studies. Appreciate the comments, Raymond. Definitely love it. Yep, I'll definitely get you that list. Awesome. Oliver, awesome. Appreciate all that. Cool. Good to have you guys on. Andy, appreciate the love. Let's dive into this and let's finish this off so that this doesn't end up being too long, because all of us are busy, including myself. I got an appointment coming up, so if I go over the hour, it's gonna be a problem. Okay, so we simplified this down. Couple case studies. Oh, and by the way, if you already need to go, then I'm just gonna give you one quick call to action. But if you do have time to stick around, again, I'm going to go through some client case studies. If you're busy though, but you feel like this is going to be the thing that you're looking for and exactly what you need, I'm going to attach a button below this to actually schedule in with me, and we can actually go through. And essentially on that call, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you a few questions, get to know you, see if I can help you, give you my advice, give you a plan. And obviously if I can help you and it makes sense for us to work together, I'll let you know what that looks like so you can decide whether you want to be a part of it or not. But again, everything we do is zero pressure. Like I only want to work with people who want to work with me. So again, it's zero pressure. Biggest thing I want to do is, obviously see if I can help you before I even offer my services. But obviously, even if it isn't a good fit, I'll still give you my advice and build you a game plan and kind of customize some of these principles to you, give you some actionable advice, and obviously send a few resources to you to help you on your own if that's the most appropriate course of action. Obviously, if you need the accountability of a coach and it makes sense for you to invest at this time, then that would probably be the better scenario for you than trying to do it on your own. But again, that's what we'll figure it out kind of on our call, what would be the best timing for you. Anyways, nothing to lose, everything to gain. If you have to go right now, you don't have time to go through my case studies first, but you actually want to jump in on that call, again, I'll attach a link below. But if you do have a little bit of time to stick around, let's go into some success stories. So this is my client, Zach. Now, Zach owns a business. He was also working in a union at the same time that he was starting his business. So again, he was sometimes working 84 hours a week, like 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, which sounds crazy. It sounds exaggerated, but it's actually true. He was still able to lose 22 pounds in 8 weeks and lost the gut. And here's the story. So, Zach and I met through a Facebook ad, and, we connected right away. He's a business owner, very growth minded. I gave him a bunch of great book recommendations that he absolutely loved. And now he's teaching me stuff, which is awesome. But, initially we got off to a really good start there, and we continue to do really well, despite the fact that he works a lot. Okay. Now he came in, he crushed it. He worked very hard, and he also went above and beyond. He did more than I asked him to, and he followed the program at least 80% of the time, 100% to a T. Okay. Which is why he got great results. He lost 22 pounds in 8 weeks. And actually this testimonial that we did was about 4 weeks ago. You can see it live in the group here if you're watching this in the group. I'll probably attach it below if you're watching this on a page. But he lost a lot of fat, and he built muscle at the same time. He was able to build a lot of strength. He lost the gut. He's actually got a little bit of ab definition going, even as a married businessman with a kid. And he's got way more energy, focus. His mindset is stronger, and he's crushing his career and business goals on a daily basis, and crushing his fitness goals, and keeping his wife and his daughter, as well as his grandfather, happy. And he honestly feels better than he felt even in his youth. So again, if you guys want to ask Zach questions, just comment down below and say, I want to ask Zach questions, and I'll tag Zach in this, and he'll have nothing but good things to say, I hope. Haha, just kidding. He's actually done a lot of videos in this group, and you guys can check out his testimonial as well. But I used to have Zach go live in this group too sometimes when he had a little bit more time. Obviously he's too busy now, but it's good fun. All right, so James is a little bit of a different case because his primary goal was to gain muscle. And we're going to go through some fat loss and muscle gain testimonials. You guys probably saw the one I posted the other day on my personal Facebook where I had my guy Abdurrahman lose 29 pounds in 6 weeks. Now he didn't want to do the before afters and all that stuff, but that's fine. He was still down to do the interview. So you guys go check that out. Because again, I know a lot of guys have high pressure jobs and they don't necessarily want shirtless pictures of themselves on the internet. However, James obviously was okay with having a shirtless picture on the internet. So I appreciate that, because look at those abs. Shit. So James was a high level athlete in high school, and he felt that he'd kind of peaked after high school, because in college, he didn't really get in better shape. And then after college, he's working 50 plus hours a week and, a pretty high pressure sales, revenue production, account management job inside of a large Swedish software company. So as an account manager, he's very busy. He's putting a lot of energy into work, because obviously anybody who's done sales knows it does take a lot of energy a lot of the times. And obviously dealing with clients, dealing with accounts, everything else. So he found himself in a rut, and he was starting to get a gut, right? Which he wasn't very happy with. I mean, his gut wasn't that big because he was naturally a skinny guy in his past, but he wasn't feeling good about his body. And he was in a place where he wanted to gain the muscle back because he lost a lot of the muscle he'd gained in his youth. He wanted to feel like an athlete again. He wanted to have that confidence, that drive, that energy back again. And so, he showed up with a positive attitude every single day, even when things got hard. He obviously worked hard and he followed the program mostly to a T. And if you guys watched my interview with him, I posted on my Facebook the other day and I ran it live in this group as well. He even admits that he's only following the diet about 80%. So it's still a little bit of a sticking point for him, just because of the nature of his work. Plus, he also is a full-time musician. So, actually during this program, he was able to launch his first album, which is awesome. And he was able to crush revenue records and hit 200% on his quota at work, which is pretty amazing for his quarterly quota. And you guys could see that inside an interview, and he directly attributes that to having better body image, having better energy levels, better focus. You can literally hear it straight from him inside the interview, which is pretty awesome. And this is why I think it's so important for business owners to be in great shape. I saw it myself, and I'm sure that you may have experienced it too. When you're lethargic, you don't produce the same as when you're on point and mentally, physically optimized. But anyways, yeah, again, so he crushed revenue records at work. He absolutely crushed it. He lost 10 pounds of fat while gaining 26.2 pounds of lean mass, which is amazing. And that was in 4 months. Now, and when I initially posted this, I'd gotten the stats wrong. So you see the updated image here, because on the interview, I realized he'd actually gained more muscle than I originally put in the height post. All right. So Jason's amazing. He lost 27 pounds in 90 days. Kind of amazing. Like, it doesn't even look like he lost 27 pounds. Well, he did get pretty shredded, but it didn't even look like he had 27 pounds to lose. But he did have a pretty significant gut going. I think he might have been sucking it in. Just kidding. Jason would probably kill me if you heard me say that, but I'm just saying. So Jason, appreciate you, bro. He was a high level athlete in his 20s and even into his 30s. And in his late 20s and his 30s, he started a business, scaled it, got married, had kids. And in his 40s, where he's 44 at the time of this picture, he's 46 now, he found himself in a rut using alcohol to cope with the stress from work, which is why he developed a gut, plus the stress levels. Remember, cortisol makes you grow belly fat specifically. You see his arms were still lean from his athletic days, but all the fat was on his gut because of the cortisol and the alcohol, right? Which is the stress. So again, Jason worked his ass off. He followed the program to a T. He's actually one of my few clients who was 100% on point. Okay. Again, I guarantee results if you follow the program 80% to a T, but Jason was actually 100% to a T, which is pretty freaking amazing. If he ever missed the workout, he'd make it up. If he ever, missed a meal, he would make it up. He was super on point. He actually invested in a meal prep service to make sure he didn't drop the ball on cooking, which is definitely a viable option if you guys want to outsource your cooking, if you legitimately don't have time for it. And obviously financially it makes sense where your time is worth more than the 10 minutes it takes to meal prep, which for a lot of guys it is, right? Like my guy Alex, right? Same category. Real estate agent, owns a jewelry business, a bunch of other conglomerate projects going on. Same guy, right? Or different guy from this guy, but Alex, the guy who I mentioned earlier. All right. So again, he worked really hard. He was still able to crush it, even being 44 years old. So again, if you're in your 40s, it isn't an excuse. And even though he's working 60 plus hours a week, business, wife, 2 kids, everything. And I've had guys in their 50s crush it as well. So again, age is not an excuse. These principles work universally. Now, here's another great one from Anthony. This interview was actually just done this morning, so I'm going to be sharing that pretty soon. We had a little bit of lag, so we weren't able to go live, but I'm going to splice out the laggy parts and then post it when I get the chance, either today or tomorrow. But essentially what happened with Anthony was he found himself in a bit of a rut because he has been working 60 plus hours per week for a couple of years. And so he started to get a gut. And I wish his hand wasn't there in the picture because he's hiding the gut. He's getting the perfect angle shot there. But, Anthony lost a ton of weight and he gained quite a bit of muscle as well. And I was giving him shit for the fact that he took the picture that way. I'm like, man, why could you show the gut? And I'm just kidding. But anyways, it's all good. What's important is he got results and that he obviously worked very hard. So, he's got multiple projects running. He's also a music producer. He's also spending hours studying the housing market and real estate and beginning to invest in his first few properties. And so he was in a really big place where he had a ton of stress. He was in a big rut. He was drinking excessively and eating junk food to cope with the stress and engaging in destructive habits. And so what we need to do was obviously find more adaptive ways to handle that stress to obviously help with the destructive habits. And even though he was working out sporadically, which is why he still had some biceps going, he gained a lot of fat since his youth, right? Like he used to weigh 180 back in the day, then he ballooned up to like 230, right? We're able to get him back down to 185. You guys will get to see that interview when I post it. Now, again, the big thing I want to commend Anthony on here is he had the discipline and the courage to quit alcohol cold turkey and fully commit to his fitness journey. And again, he lost 45 pounds in 5 months while gaining muscle and skill in his career. Now, just a note for anybody who's like thinking about quitting alcohol cold turkey, if you're drinking every day, you do have to kind of wean off it so you don't get like the crazy withdrawals. But yeah, we should definitely cut out drinking if you're looking to get in great shape. Obviously, like I have a lot of guys who are in real estate to where like a lot of events that you go to, there is some alcohol involved. So obviously there's ways to work around that. And if you do have to drink, there's also ways to work around that. But obviously, if we can minimize alcohol or cut it out completely, we get better results. Anyways, so you've seen plenty of before afters, plenty more on my page. You've seen them in the beginning as well, my YouTube channel, whatever else. You've probably seen my written reviews. You can pause the screen and read this later if you'd like. You've probably seen a lot of the YouTube videos. Here was a montage we did. We recently started posting these on YouTube again, since we were only doing it on Facebook for a while. So definitely check those out if you still want to learn more, or if you just want to talk directly to my clients, let me know and I'll tag them here. Especially like the 4 case studies I just did. Um, but yeah, the big question now is, you've watched this, but will you take action? Are you going to do something, or will this become a waste of your time? Because there's 2 courses of action you could take right now. You could completely forget about everything that you just learned today and keep living the life the way that you've been living it. Just if you are going to do that, I really implore you to consider the potential ramifications of doing so, because I want you to live a high quality life. I don't want you to struggle or suffer. Okay. Now, the next thing you can do is you can try to apply this on your own, which I commend you on that. Just understand it is going to take time to figure it out for yourself, and you won't be able to consult with me per se to figure it out on your own. Or what you could do is you could actually hop on a call with me, and we can actually figure out a consistent and customized game plan to you, and potentially talk about working together now or in the future. Again, it's zero pressure if you aren't ready right now. But obviously, if you are ready right now, or you need something ASAP because you're headed down a really dark path right now, we need to turn that shit around and actually get you some results. So if you believe that you could be my next success story, you're serious about getting great results, and you actually feel that this will, and based on the science I've shared with you here today, that this will work for you. And of course, ask me any questions if you have additional questions, because I'd love to answer them and make sure that you feel 100% convinced and certain that I can help you before we even talk about it. But again, if this made sense to you, please click the link below. There will be a link to actually book a call and hop on with me. Again, even if it isn't a good fit or doesn't make sense for you to actually invest right now, I'll still build a plan for you and help you, as long as you obviously show up open-minded, prepared, ready to learn, ready to take some notes, and you're actually taking this seriously and not just taking this call while you're like, cleaning your baby's diaper or something like that. Now, obviously, if you just had a baby, maybe that might come up in the middle of our call, but hopefully not. Let's try to get in a space where we're able to focus and truly get as much out of this call as possible. And then obviously, if we do decide to work together, I'm very excited to guarantee that you attain whatever specific goal weight or goal physique in the time frame that we've set. Again, all you need to do is take action and do what I tell you to do. Obviously, I'm going to make it as sustainable, enjoyable as possible. There's still going to be times where it's hard. That's where the coaching and accountability comes in. But that's ultimately what we do. So again, there is a button below, or there will be in a second, to actually apply and hop on one of these calls. So again, we'll talk about your background, what you've tried, maybe figure out and give you some clarity as to why it hasn't worked for your lifestyle. We'll talk about your goals this year, your dream physique, your goal weight, any other life goals we need to hit along the way, so I could take account of those when designing your schedule and your plan, to obviously not take away from anything else you're doing, but rather enhance it by getting better energy levels, better focus, better confidence, better body image. And then obviously we're going to build a roadmap for you to execute on to make sure that this works. So, and again, it'll be fully customized. Everything we do is custom because everybody's different. Everybody's schedule and body needs and preferences are different. So obviously that's why we customize everything. And again, if it is a good fit, we'll talk about the next steps to becoming a private client. So regardless of the outcome of the call, though, you're going to leave with a customized blueprint. You're also going to leave with any other relevant resources I believe you need based on whatever we cover specifically on the call. So that is it. Thank you for being here on this training. I'm just going to go through and see if we have any questions, and I might just answer those individually in the comments. But I appreciate you guys being on. Raymond, yes, 100% true. Feeling lethargic directly affects production, 100%. That's why it's so important we obviously optimize our energy levels. But I appreciate you guys being on today. I am going to hop off. Got some more appointments to prepare for, but very excited to speak to you if you are one of the people who decides to hop on a call. So click the link below, schedule a call, and look forward to seeing your results over the next 90 days. Let's get it.